Marco wanted to dump me, but he didn't know how to bring it up, so he went to his best buddy for advice. His friend said, "No way, you've been together for 7 years, and now you think she's too controlling?" My boyfriend frowned deeply and explained with a straight face, "Being controlled by her for 7 years is already my limit. She monitors my drinking, my social life, she even insists on getting the contact info of every new intern at my company. If I have to live the rest of my life like this, I'd rather stay single forever." Later, I thought it over all night. Fine, then I'd give him what he wanted. 7 years is just 7 years. It's not a lifetime. Chapter 1. I've been with Marco for 7 years. Logically speaking, this should have been the year we got engaged. After all, before the Lunar New Year he took me to meet his parents, and marriage had already been openly discussed. But ever since we came back after the holiday, Marco seemed to find fault with me in everything. We argued over small things every 2 days and big things every 3. Peaceful days were simply impossible. For example, I'd heated milk for him every day for 7 years, without fail. Suddenly, he decided the taste was disgusting and said juice was more refreshing. Every Saturday afternoon I'd do a full house cleaning, but he complained that the sound of me wiping the windows was unbearably irritating and disrupted his guitar practice. I'm used to wearing dark colors, yet he insisted I looked better in light ones. I can't eat spicy food without breaking out, but he dragged me to have authentic, explosively spicy barbecue anyway. Sometimes I worked late and asked him to pick me up on his way. He said I was a hassle, then turned around and went drinking with his buddies. There were countless incidents like these. Our daily conversations shifted from sweet words to sharp attacks. Day by day, things got worse. Our relationship grew colder and colder. There was no trace left of a couple about to get married. My mom often called to urge us to settle down. Every time, he brushed it off. I could only comfort my mom first, then confront him after hanging up. But aside from his silence, I never got any real response. Sometimes I was pushed to the edge and smashed his laptop, threw his phone, demanding that he give me an answer, were we getting married or not? But every time, Marco would just adjust his glasses and deliberately evade the issue, saying the company wasn't stable yet, that marriage would be risky, and that we should wait and see in the second half of the year. Fine, I wouldn't pressure him. I'd wait. I'd already waited 7 years. What was another 6 months? What I got in return was his icy response. "I don't want you anymore. You're too controlling. I find you unbearable now. Being with you is worse than being single." This was the ending written by the man I loved for 7 years, written by his own hand. Maybe he'd forgotten who stayed by his side through the hardest times. Forgotten who cooked millet porridge for him for 7 years to take care of his stomach. Forgotten who, after his startup failed again and again, not only supported him emotionally but also gave him over $100,000 in financial help. My friends all said that giving too much to a man only makes him lose himself. At first, I didn't believe it. Even if such men existed, Marco couldn't possibly be one of them. That's how much I trusted him. I refused to admit he was a jerk, no matter what. But time and reality gave me the answer. These past 6 months, he despised me, and I couldn't change it. He went silent, and I went berserk. Honestly, I'd had enough too. If I really had to spend a lifetime with this version of him, I wouldn't be willing either. So be it. A breakup is a breakup. Whoever can't move on is the loser. On impulse, I turned around, took a few steps back, and left the office door that had been left half open. Chapter 2. After leaving Marco's company, I planned to stop by the convenience store next door to buy a cup of coffee to clear my head. By sheer coincidence, I overheard a conversation between 2 girls. One of them was Marco's intern, named Robin. "Rita, I'm really done with you. Stop messing around. I don't want to lose this job." That was Robin's voice. It sounded helpless and strained. "What's the big deal?" Rita replied casually. "I'm just asking you to help me set up another meeting with your company's president, Marco. Why are you making it so difficult? Besides, if he knows it's me asking, who knows how happy he'll be. Go on, go on. Once I become a rich man's wife, your future as a tiny little intern will be smooth sailing." Robin angrily grabbed a tube of cucumber-flavored chips and rejected her again. "No, if I'd known you had those intentions toward President Marco, I never would have helped you." The night before last, when President Marco's girlfriend called to ask me, I even said righteously that he was working overtime. Who would have thought you two were in there doing that? President Marco and his girlfriend are really a good match. Can you stop barging in between them? I'm begging you." As she spoke, Robin pressed her palms together, looking almost pleading, but Rita just pouted stubbornly. "I won't. Marco and I are the ones who belong together." "Rita, I really misjudged you," Robin snapped. "From now on, don't ever say you're my friend." Furious, Robin shoved her aside and went to another shelf to pick snacks. Within seconds, the two of them headed to the checkout one after the other. Suddenly, Rita stopped her again and said coldly, "Fine. Don't help me then. I was doing this for your own good, to give you more face time in front of President Marco. Maybe you'd even get a full-time offer. Since you don't appreciate kindness, forget it. Anyway, I've got plenty of tricks. I'll make President Marco agree to watch a movie with me tonight." "Humph. Just wait and see." With that, Rita left the convenience store. When Robin went to pay, our eyes met. Maria? Why are you here?" Robin looked instantly startled, her words stumbling out. You heard everything just now, didn't you?" I didn't mean to hide it from you. I only just found out myself. I'm so sorry. Please don't fire me. I really love this job." I was shocked, but I didn't want to lose my composure in front of her. So, just like always, I smiled and said, "I didn't hear anything. I had my earphones on." Relief flashed through Robin's eyes, but she could tell I was lying. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was her unworldly innocence. After she left the convenience store, she sent me a long, several hundred-word message, telling me the whole truth. Chapter 3. Robin said that she and Rita graduated from the same school. When they first started job hunting, they ran into obstacles everywhere. Later, unwilling to give up, Robin kept running from interview to interview, even in 40-degree heat. Marco happened to be short on interns at the time, and he preferred hiring sincere, earnest college graduates. So Robin got the position. As for how Rita met Marco, it happened during a company team-building event, which coincidentally was held at the barbecue place where Rita worked part-time. Rita had dreamed of marrying into wealth ever since she was young. When she found out that Robin was Marco's personal intern assistant, she repeatedly asked Robin to arrange meetings with him. At first, she claimed she wanted to apply for a job directly with the boss. Later, she said Marco had left something with her and she needed to return it personally, or that she wanted to show goodwill to Marco to secure a position. Robin thought it was just the desperation of a fresh graduate eager for opportunities. Only now did she realize there was another motive behind it all. Once she understood Rita's true intentions, she became afraid. After making eye contact with me, she was even more terrified, which was why she told me everything. She also swore to me that every time Marco met Rita, she was present, and there was absolutely nothing inappropriate, except for that one time. That time was the night before last, our 7th anniversary. I called Marco again and again, urging him to come home, telling him I had a surprise for him. I even sent him videos of the room I'd decorated and hid the engagement ring inside the balloons. But Marco's phone felt like it had gone dead. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reach him, so I called Robin instead. When she answered, her voice trembled. I asked, "Robin, is the president still working overtime at this hour?" Robin replied shakily, "Why, yes. Maria, President Marco is still at the company." In the video call, Robin's eyes were filled with panic and uncertainty, as if she were deliberately hiding something. I sensed something was wrong and asked her to turn the camera toward Marco. Nearly 2 minutes passed before she adjusted the angle. When Marco appeared on screen, he had just walked out of his office. Usually meticulous to the point of obsession, his tie was uncharacteristically disheveled. I said impatiently, "What kind of state is that?" Marco froze for a moment, then immediately straightened himself out. After a few perfunctory words, he hung up. I originally thought it was just normal overtime, that he came home late because of work. But in Robin's account, Rita had been there that day too. Before I called, the two of them had already been alone in the office for nearly half an hour. As for what they were doing, there was no need to guess. After that incident, Robin completely cut ties with Rita. They only exchanged a few words today at the convenience store. Chapter 4. I used to be unable to figure out why Marco suddenly found everything about me irritating. Now I finally understood, once there's someone he gets along with more effortlessly. Of course I become unpleasant no matter how he looks at me. My light-colored, dull shirts and jeans stood in contrast to Rita's form-fitting, flashy spaghetti-strap dresses. I prefer light, home-style flavors. In contrast, Rita goes for stimulating, spicy hot pot and barbecue that really pack a punch. I asked him to pick me up after work. He said it was a hassle, yet pretended to be drinking with his buddies while staying until closing time at the barbecue place where Rita worked part-time. Then conveniently walked her home, and the carefully prepared yet boring 7th anniversary I planned for him. How could that possibly compete with the temptation of an office? Stockings, a body-hugging skirt, and seductive red lips? That's how it is. Once a man starts cheating, the woman he's with starts becoming unbearable. But I'm not someone without dignity. Since he wants to break up, then we'll break up. Chasing after him relentlessly, demanding right and wrong, justice and answers. That's not my style. Who's right and who's wrong? I know it myself. In this relationship, my conscience is clear. As for whether he feels guilty or not, that's his business. Chapter 5. At 1 in the morning, when Marco finally came home, I was still sitting on the balcony. The floor was covered in half-smoked cigarette butts, and the entire apartment reeked of stale tobacco. He looked worn out, his eyes barely able to stay open. Seeing how lifeless I was, he didn't show even a trace of concern like he used to. So it really was over. He couldn't even be bothered to pretend anymore. I didn't know what kind of advice his good buddy had ultimately given him on how to dump me, but I didn't care anymore. Over the course of this night, I had completely figured things out. This utterly messed up relationship, whoever wants it can have it. I'm done. Just 6 months had already drained me until I barely resembled myself. I didn't dare imagine how miserable I'd be if I really spent a lifetime with him. So when Marco finished washing up and was about to lie down to catch up on sleep, I suddenly ripped the blanket off him and snapped. "Aren't you trying to break up with me? Say it." "I agree." My abrupt opening was sudden and admittedly aggressive. Marco stared at me, brows tightly knit, frozen for several seconds before reacting. "Why you? What are you talking about?" I repeated myself firmly. "Breaking up. Isn't that what you want?" "I agree. When do we start? Now? Or after you wake up?" Seeing how serious and fierce I was, Marco finally sat up, looking at me with an irritated gaze. "What did Robin tell you now?" "That damn girl, she only knows how to complain to you. I was just drinking with a few buddies I hadn't seen in a long time. I didn't do anything else." "Stop making a scene. My head hurts. Go make me a bowl of hangover soup first." Maybe my bluntness disrupted his plan. For a moment, he couldn't process it, so he chose to deny everything, planning to weigh the pros and cons later. But once I had made up my mind, I truly couldn't stand the thought of coexisting with him for even one more minute. So I told him directly. "I heard everything you said to Xinghun at the company." He froze again, opening his mouth to explain. I cut in calmly. "It's fine. A breakup is a breakup. It's not something that hard to say out loud. Besides, what you've done to me these past 6 months is no different from a breakup already. During your so-called pre-breakup phase, I adjusted myself long ago. I don't need you anymore." When my words fell, Marco went silent. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. "Maria, you accepted separating from me that easily?" He seemed displeased, and his words were harsh to the ear. "I've been struggling with how to bring up breaking up with you for a long time, and you just say it so casually? Maria, we've been together for so long. You can really let go?" I let out a cold laugh. "No, you're the one who wanted to break up. Your actions forced me to let go of this relationship. What are you even complaining about now? Besides, isn't this exactly what you wanted? You got tired of a boring, bland woman like me and wanted something new. That's human nature. I can understand. I've had moments where I couldn't stand you either, but my moral bottom line is higher. I chose to endure. You chose to replace me. Either choice is fine, as long as both sides get the result they want." I had said too much in one breath. I paused, took a sip of water, then continued lightly. "Let's break up. I'm ready. And you? Don't tell me you only thought about it." And deep down you're still clinging to me? As if I'd hit the nail on the head. Marco stayed silent until my phone buzzed with a message from Robin. Maria. President Marco didn't go watch a movie with Rita. She's crying alone in the dorm. Don't worry, I'll definitely keep an eye on President Marco for you. I typed back. No need. Robin, President Marco and I are breaking up. You don't need to watch him for me anymore. The moment the message was sent, my phone was snatched out of my hand. Chapter 6. I looked up and saw Marco staring at my phone screen, his eyes unnaturally red. When he looked back at me, there was a trace of grievance on his face. What do you mean no need? What do you mean we're breaking up? I didn't agree to that. Marco's sudden change of attitude struck me as ridiculous. I didn't find him pitiful at all. I said, "What exactly are you doing? You were the one talking about breaking up in the office, and now you're the one saying we're not breaking up. Marco, are you 3 years old? Do words mean nothing once they leave your mouth?" Marco looked stubborn and immediately began explaining. "What Robin told you isn't wrong, Rita does exist around me. But every time, she was the one dressing up and trying to seduce me. I never took the initiative. The day before yesterday in the office, she deliberately spilled water on my shirt. That's why we stayed in there so long. If you'd just asked me, I would have told you everything honestly. I would never hide it from you. Besides, this really isn't that big of a deal, is it? I didn't actually cheat, and I didn't fall in love with anyone else. Just curiosity, right?" I interrupted him. He avoided my gaze, swallowed a few times, then continued awkwardly. "Yes, that's right. Just simple curiosity. It's not about love. You said it yourself. Who doesn't like novelty? Rita is just that to me. But you're different. I want to spend my whole life with you." I couldn't help laughing when he said that. "Marco, how long are you planning to keep acting? I already told you, I heard what you said to Xingheng in the office. You asked him for advice on how to break up with a girlfriend you've been with for 7 years. You talked about how tired you were of me, how you didn't want to spend a lifetime with me. I heard all of it. It's fine, I accept the breakup. You can just say it outright. But now you're dragging this out, making it look like I'm the one who wronged you." Chapter 7. Maria! Marco suddenly roared, startling me so badly I nearly lost my footing. "Couldn't you at least listen to everything before eavesdropping?" I said a lot after that too. I said I'm used to your presence, that I wouldn't adapt if you left me, that maybe we should just live like this for the rest of our lives, stable and uneventful. I even bought you a 7th anniversary gift. If you don't believe me, call Xingheng and ask him. Hearing Marco's almost broken down explanation, I wasn't as stunned as I'd imagined I would be. My emotions were as calm as if he were telling me whether he'd eaten breakfast or not. In that moment, it felt like 7 years had passed in a flash. I thought, none of this mattered anymore. It didn't matter whether the first half of what I heard was truly from his heart. It didn't matter whether the latter half, which I hadn't heard, was real or just made up. To me, it no longer mattered. What mattered was that he had once considered abandoning me, then, after weighing the pros and cons, decided I was still tolerable. More importantly, he allowed Rita to hover around him. He had noticed Rita's intentions long ago. Not only did he fail to reject her, he gave her chance after chance to ingratiate herself. Even if he claimed nothing had happened, in my imagination, he was already tainted. This relationship was no longer worth keeping. Before we were even married, he already had no sense of boundaries. After marriage, that would be an even greater life risk. So after he weighed his pros and cons, it was my turn to weigh mine. My decision was simple, to give up this 7-year relationship. Even though my mom had long since accepted him as her future son-in-law and had repeatedly pressured me to get married as soon as possible, some of the things she said, I still find them unbelievable. I remember not long ago, on my mom's birthday, Marco and I went home to visit her. As expected, she brought up marriage again, while eating cake. She said bluntly, "Marco, I checked the dates. National Day this year looks good. Why don't you and Maria just get married this year?" Marco brushed it off as usual, but suddenly my mom said something utterly absurd. "Tell me the truth, Marco. Are you hesitating to marry Maria because you're worried she's getting older and won't be able to have children?" The moment she said that, A terrible feeling crept over me. Then, under both Marco's and my stunned gazes, my mom added, "Getting pregnant first and registering the marriage later is acceptable in our family too." I know my mom doesn't love me that much. Her urging me to get married was just her way of pushing me out, so she could free up the apartment we're currently living in, and give it to my sister-in-law as a live stream studio. Chapter 8. While I was packing my things, my mom suddenly called, "Come home this weekend, bring Marco with you." My tone was flat as I told her directly. Marco and I broke up. Instantly, my mom started shouting into the phone, "What? You broke up? Who allowed you to break up? If you broke up, who's going to pay the bride price? Who's going to fund your sister-in-law's studio? Your sister-in-law treats you so well, is this how you repay her? You ungrateful wretch, you are not allowed to break up. If you dare break up, don't come back home. There's no place for you in this family." I replied coldly, "There never was a place for me." Then I hung up. When I looked up again, my swollen eyes met Marco's pitying gaze. Marco had accompanied me through that period when I wasn't loved by my parents, yet desperately needed their love. Back then, we were still young. Kids in class were always comparing what their moms cooked for lunch that day, or which amusement park their moms would take them to next. Especially Marco. His family atmosphere was the best in our class. His dad was a basketball coach who took him to play ball and meet sports stars on weekends. His mom was a piano teacher, sometimes, when she was in the mood during meals. She'd sit down and play a gentle tune, and then the whole family would join in. It was pure happiness. In front of him, I felt like a sewer rat swollen with envy. I stole his parents and wrote them into my essays. Even when I won prizes in writing competitions, I didn't dare look up at him, afraid he'd suddenly tell the teacher that my parents were stolen and that my essay was stolen too. It wasn't until high school that I realized he had always known I existed, and knew everything I'd done and everything I'd been through. He had a good heart, kind, compassionate, sympathetic, so he pulled me into his family atmosphere. I went from a sewer rat to jumping into a rice bin overnight, but I knew I was still a rat. But it didn't matter. After entering university, I gradually formed my own sense of self. I was no longer bound by my family of origin. I earned my own money. I saved up to escape this home, to study abroad, to take the postgraduate exams. Even though they didn't contribute a single cent, I still earned my bachelor's degree through my own efforts and landed an excellent job. Later, during my years studying in France, I unexpectedly ran into Marco again, and we developed what I thought was a fated relationship. I believed we were a perfectly matched couple. We'd been classmates in elementary school. Then, by chance, I met his parents again in middle school. There had been a kind of chemistry, but because of academic pressure, we never spoke of love back then. Later, in college, I studied and supported myself in the North, while he studied in the South and started his business. During that time, aside from seeing each other a few times at class reunions, we barely interacted at all. Then came France. Fate restarted, and we finally seized the opportunity. It was as if we had each completed our own life quests, and when we reached the checkpoint called love, we met each other. I truly believed it was destiny. Later, we were together for 7 years, not a short time, and the length of time we'd known each other was even longer. So how could he turn out to be this kind of person? For a moment, I couldn't understand it. After all, I'd known him since we were young. His family environment, his values, his personality, none of it matched the man he'd become. But it didn't matter. I was no longer the timid person I used to be. I'm sharp-tongued and ruthless. To me, love is just an accessory, nice to have, but not necessary. Years of pressure from life and from my family of origin gave me 2 things above all else: resilience, and a heart capable of cutting cleanly. A mere 7-year relationship? I can let it go whenever I want. Chapter 9. Still as impulsive as ever? That was the first thing Marco said to me after I hung up the phone. He always thought he understood me so well, treating me as if I were still the person I used to be, sometimes indulging my naive innocence, sometimes growing tired of my stubborn resilience. I didn't respond and continued packing. For the first time in nearly half a year, he was speaking to me in such a gentle tone. Perhaps the word breakup had truly frightened him. "Can we talk this through properly? What happened with Rita really was a misunderstanding. I admit I had improper thoughts, but I swear, it was only thoughts. There was absolutely no crossing the line. It's been so many years. Don't you trust me? I didn't answer. I kept packing. Old sweaters, old boots, old bags. All old things, worth nothing. Things that should have been thrown away long ago. Marco had complained about my frugality before. He said he was capable of buying me new things. Good things. He wanted me to dress more stylishly so he could save face in front of his friends. Every time. I just smiled. He didn't understand. If it weren't for my thriftiness all these years, if it weren't for these old clothes, there wouldn't be the person I am today. And there certainly wouldn't have been the $150,000 I lent him for his startup. But he had forgotten all of that. He only remembered that I didn't look presentable enough. Stop packing. Suddenly, Marco slapped the gray scarf out of my hand, the one he'd given me in our first year together. I didn't pick it up again. I decided to let it go. Then I looked at him and said, Marco, I can't accept a partner who cheats, emotionally or physically. That's something we swore to. Do you really think what you had with Rita was normal? Forget it. I honestly don't want to dwell on this anymore. I just want to break up. Let me go, okay? Naturally, Marco wasn't satisfied with my attitude. With one hand gripping me, he picked up his phone with the other and called his good buddy, Zheng Heng. Hengzi, come over to my place. Explain the office situation to your sister-in-law. She misunderstood. A little over 10 minutes later, Zheng Heng knocked on the door. During those 10 minutes, Marco and I were wordless. After all, we hadn't really communicated much these past 6 months. To me, this silence felt normal, but Marco looked increasingly uncomfortable, restless in every position he tried. Sister-in-law. It really is a misunderstanding. Marco never truly wanted to break up with you. He just had a moment of stupidity. That's all. I've watched you two grow together. Don't separate so easily, it'd be such a pity. Zheng Heng spoke while still catching his breath. His eyes sincere. Not like he was lying. Maybe Marco really did have a moment of impulsive stupidity when he thought about breaking up. But the cold violence and disdain of the past 6 months were definitely not a momentary lapse. So I spoke. Then did he think about breaking up or not? Was he planning to break up with me these past 6 months? Did the sudden emotional neglect start after Rita appeared? All right, you're his good brother. You think he's innocent and that I misunderstood him. Then you explain to me, are the things I just said true or not? After my words landed, Zheng Heng's gaze fell onto Marco. A look of silent pleading for help. I let out a cold laugh. Is this interesting? Marco quickly sent Zheng Heng away, intending to explain everything himself. But after half a minute of flustered panic, he couldn't form a single coherent sentence. Don't explain anymore, I said, running in circles, going back and forth. And it all revolves around this one Rita. There's really no need. Honestly, even if it weren't Rita, there would have been another Rita appearing during this period when you were emotionally exhausted. No matter who it was, you would have had inappropriate thoughts. Because you no longer have feelings for me. 7 years, we've long since gone numb. One side refuses to admit it. The other refuses to let go. It's fine. You indirectly lit the fuse, even though you never officially told me you wanted to break up. I knew. So I'm granting you what you want, Marco. The 7 years I had with you were happy. And please believe me, my life without you will also be happy. Goodbye, Marco. With that, I picked up my suitcase and opened the door. I left the keys on the cabinet by the entryway. There were still dumplings in the freezer, ones I'd wrapped carefully a long time ago. On the stove, there was a pot of beef bone soup he loved to drink. I wasn't used to taking care of him. I was saying goodbye to my 7 years. Chapter 10. Going back home was out of the question. My mom definitely wouldn't allow it. And even if I did go back, it would only mean getting scolded nonstop. So for the time being, I stayed at a friend's place, contacting real estate agents to buy an apartment while also writing out the post-breakup phase. Truth be told, I wasn't overly heartbroken about how this relationship ended. Maybe it was because during all that waiting, I'd already set my expectations too high. Maybe half of it was Marco's attitude, he'd simply grown tired. And also because I never really devoted much of my life to romance in the first place. Most of my time went into my career, into strategizing against my mom, and into carving out my own territory in a workplace dominated by men. So breaking up wasn't a bad thing for me. I even caught myself worrying that if I took a day off to move, some petty rival might snatch one of my clients. Thinking that way, I felt completely at ease. A man's sincerity is far less attractive than the numbers in a bank account. When my friend came to pick me up, she could hardly believe her eyes. She'd expected a miserable woman dragging 2 suitcases, makeup streaked from crying. Instead, when she opened the door, she saw someone sharp and composed, makeup still flawless, energy at full charge, a full-on career warrior. The moment I arrived at her place, I didn't start venting or complaining. I pulled out my phone and went head-to-head with 2 elite men from the French headquarters. Half an hour later, my performance record gained an extra $30 million in revenue, and my bank balance increased by enough for a down payment on an apartment. So when my friend finally asked me to explain what exactly had happened between Marco and me, I froze for a couple of seconds, then replied calmly with just a few words. "It's nothing serious. We broke up." Her jaw dropped open. I casually grabbed an apple and shoved it into her mouth. Over the next few days, she got used to my state. The agent also told me that there just happened to be a few apartments for sale in her residential complex. So I bought one nearby, paid in full, for a place that truly belonged to me. The day the purchase was finalized, we went out to celebrate, but by sheer bad luck, at the barbecue restaurant where we were eating, I ran into Marco. Chapter 11. Pfft. I suddenly spat out the juice I had just taken a sip of, then looked up at the server in shock. This isn't what I ordered. As soon as I finished speaking, red blotches started appearing on my skin. When I raised my head and met the server's eyes, I realized it was the girl I'd run into at the convenience store that day. Rita. The same Rita who had been entangled with Marco for half a year. Rita's face instantly turned red with panic. She hurriedly took the juice away, bent down at a 90-degree angle, and apologized over and over. "I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. It was too busy just now. I didn't notice I picked up the wrong drink. I'll change it for you right away." Her attitude was sincere enough. It didn't look intentional. But at that moment, Marco deliberately chose to make things difficult for her, clearly trying to prove to me that he had absolutely nothing to do with Rita. "How do we know you didn't do this on purpose to target a customer?" he snapped. "I want to see the manager and check the surveillance footage." The moment Marco finished speaking, Rita's tears fell instantly. "Stop acting." Marco sneered. "You fresh graduates are really good at this kind of performance. Some people would do anything just to climb into a boss's bed." As he spoke, he even stepped back in visible disgust, putting distance between himself and her. Rita clenched her fists, her teeth grinding. "Fine. You want the manager? Then call the manager." Rita, have never been someone who refuses to take responsibility, and I'm not the kind of person who deliberately targets others. Unlike some people, doing things behind the scenes, refusing to admit it afterward, and now putting on a fake act to mock others. Disgusting. With that, Rita called the manager. A few minutes later, a woman with a righteous, professional air appeared in front of us. After apologizing to me and explaining the compensation, she directly pulled up the surveillance footage. "Please rest assured, even though we're not a big chain restaurant, we take our customers' experiences very seriously. If any of our staff made you uncomfortable, we will deal with it strictly." The footage showed that Rita had already been working for 7 consecutive hours, right during peak time. Mistakes were inevitable. More importantly, the staff member who prepared the drinks had also been working continuously for a long time and misread the order, accidentally adding mango to the drink, leading to Rita delivering the wrong one. The evidence clearly proved that it was a simple mistake, not intentional. Marco was unconvinced, holding back a breath of anger, and returned to his seat to continue eating with his friends. But the things they said while chatting were full of malice, every word aimed at Rita. That's exactly how she reeled me in back then. This woman's got all kinds of tricks. Shed a couple of tears in men's hearts and wallets follow right after. Someone flattered him, saying, "There are tons of women like that, nothing they wouldn't do." President Marco, you really shouldn't be fooled. The way that girl looks at you isn't simple at all. Marco swallowed, looking a bit stiff. Of course I won't be fooled. I don't have that kind of time or interest. But as soon as he finished speaking, Rita walked straight up to him. "President Marco, That's not what you said in your office that day. Then Rita projected a video onto the restaurant's large screen. On the screen, Marco was sitting with Rita on his lap, his eyes unfocused. "Rita, you really know a lot of tricks," he said. "Way more interesting than my boring girlfriend." Rita's eyes were seductive as she tapped his nose. "Then does President Marco like it?" Marco tightened his arms around her excitedly. "I like it. Whatever you want. I'll buy it for you." Then Rita pulled up a photo of an LV bag. "I want this one. Buy it for me. Buy it. Buy it. It's just a bag." Then another voice came through in the video. "President Marco, your girlfriend is calling. She's urging you to come back for your 7th anniversary. Do you want to answer?" Marco let out a heavy sigh and pushed Rita off his lap. That was where the video ended. In an instant, the barbecue restaurant erupted in chatter. Everyone was talking at once, even friends who had collaborated with Marco for years looked visibly uncomfortable. Marco, embarrassed and furious, became unusually aggressive when his eyes met mine. "Rita, are you threatening me? Do you believe I could make sure you never find a job in the city again?" Rita scoffed. "It's fine. Even if no company takes me, I can still support myself working at this barbecue place." After saying that, she returned to the kitchen. Marco, like a cornered dog, started smashing things in rage. At that moment, all I felt was shame. I grabbed my friend and quickly left the restaurant. After getting home, I checked the allergic reaction on my skin. Luckily, it wasn't severe. Some allergy medication would do. While taking the medicine, I suddenly received a message from Robin. "Maria, I resigned. I didn't know my friend would do something like that. I can't face President Marco, and I can't stay at that company anymore. But before leaving, I still wanted to say sorry to you. It's my fault. If I had seen my friend clearly earlier, maybe you and President Marco wouldn't have ended up like this." I replied, "It's okay. I wish you the best in finding a suitable job soon." In truth, when it came down to it, no one in this situation was completely innocent. Robin's negligence, Marco's lack of boundaries, Rita's greed, and my own half-year of weakness. I didn't say much, but I wasn't blind to Robin's effort and sincerity either. So after she resigned, I recommended her for a job with twice the salary she'd been earning at Marco's company. Consider it a small compensation. Chapter 12. About half a month after I separated from Marco, my mom suddenly called. "Have you made up with Marco yet? When exactly are you getting married? The bride price is $288,000 if his family won't agree. We can lower it a bit." I said, "We're not getting back together, and we're definitely not getting married. Stop thinking about the bride price." My mom exploded. "What do you mean I'm thinking about it? Your sister-in-law treats you so well and needs money. Are you really not going to help at all? Maria, come home this weekend. Oh, and bring some money back. I've had bad luck playing mahjong lately. 3 or 5,000 will do." I lowered my head and stayed silent for a moment, then said, "Mom, as your daughter with a legal obligation to support you, I'll transfer you 200 yuan every month as living expenses. But other than that, don't expect to take a single cent from me, including the studio your daughter-in-law wants to open, or the bride price you keep fixating on. I won't be stupid enough to be fooled by you again and again. And that place is your home. I won't be going back. Didn't you say it yourself? If I married Marco, his home would be my home. If I divorced, then I'd have no home at all. Since you never wanted me anyway, then I don't want you either. From now on, I'll give you basic support money. But as for taking care of you and providing for your old age, please ask your eldest son." With that, I hung up. I remember a line from Walden. "A person truly begins to live only when they have no one to rely on." When I left my hometown and came alone to a place 1,000 kilometers away, that was when I finally understood what real freedom and ease felt like. I wear clothes I like. I do work I love. I enjoy a version of myself completely different from the one they see. I am absolutely free, absolutely clear-headed. This is a romance that belongs to me alone. So it was only after I truly left home that I realized I no longer need a home. Home, to me, never meant warmth, though Marco once rekindled a faint spark of hope in my heart. It has long since burned out, but it doesn't matter. I lit a lamp that will never go out, burning in the small home that belongs to me alone. From here on, reset, renew, reboot, rise. I become myself.